In the time when gods still walked among mortals and destiny was woven by immortal hands, the lands of Greece trembled under the echoes of both heroism and wrath. From the mist of Olympus descended beings of unimaginable power, and among them, none were as unpredictable as the god of war, Ares. His thirst for conflict was endless, and his desire to see mortals suffer in endless battle was rivaled only by his hatred for his half-brother, the mighty Hercules. Hercules, son of Zeus and a mortal woman, was known throughout the ancient world for his unmatched strength and compassion. He had traveled across kingdoms, saving villagers from beasts, tyrants, and curses alike. Yet, for all his strength, his greatest battles were never against monsters of flesh, but against gods who despised his humanity. And on this day, the challenge would come from Ares himself. The story begins on a quiet morning in a small village nestled between rolling hills. Farmers tilled their fields, children played along the river, and the scent of harvest filled the air. But above them, unseen by mortal eyes, the sky churned with crimson clouds. Ares stood upon the edge of Olympus, watching the peace below with disdain. To him, mortals were weak when they lived without war. Peace dulled their blades, made their spirits soft. He longed to remind them of their nature, that only through battle could strength be proven. With a flash of fire and thunder, Ares descended to the mortal world, his armor gleaming like molten iron, his eyes burning with fury. Wherever his footsteps fell, grass withered, and the air grew heavy with tension. He appeared before a band of mercenaries, their hearts hungry for conquest, their souls eager for gold. Ares offered them a vision, a world where they would rule, a world drenched in glory and blood. And thus, under his command, the war god forged an army. As the villages fell one by one, tales of destruction reached Hercules, who was traveling with Iolaus, his loyal friend and companion. They heard of men possessed by rage, of peaceful farmers turned into soldiers overnight, and of the name whispered in fear, Ares. Hercules understood immediately that this was no ordinary war. It bore the mark of divine manipulation. He knew his brother's hand in every act of chaos that spread across the land. So Hercules set out toward the heart of the burning countryside, following the trail of destruction left by Ares's army. Smoke curled from villages once full of laughter. The cries of the wounded filled the air like a lament to the heavens. Hercules lifted fallen beams, carried the injured to safety, and calmed the terrified with a strength that came not only from his muscles but from his heart. For every village that burned, he swore to bring justice to the god who caused it. Meanwhile, Ares watched him from the shadows of war. The god of war admired his brother's resolve yet despised his mercy. He believed compassion made Hercules weak, an insult to their father Zeus. Ares wanted to prove that even the son of Zeus could break when faced with the fury of true battle. And so he devised a plan, one that would test not Hercules' strength, but his soul. Ares sent illusions across the battlefield, phantom armies that struck terror into mortals' hearts, forcing them to fight against shadows. He turned brothers against brothers, fathers against sons. The line between friend and foe blurred, and madness spread like wildfire. Hercules, upon reaching the battlefield, felt the weight of despair pressing on him. The cries of mortals were endless, their eyes empty from rage they could not control. But Hercules, with his wisdom and strength, called upon the power within him, not the might of a god, but the courage of a man. He raised his hand toward the heavens, and though he could not summon lightning or command storms like Zeus, he called out to the spirits of peace and reason within human hearts. Slowly, the madness began to fade. The illusions shattered, and the mortals collapsed, exhausted and freed from Ares's grasp. Ares appeared before him then, wreathed in flame and fury, his sword dripping with molten light. The ground trembled at his arrival, and the skies darkened as thunder rolled above. Hercules stood firm, his chest rising with determination, his eyes unwavering. Though no words were spoken between them, the tension between the brothers was thick as the air before a storm. One fought for war, the other for peace. Two sons of Zeus bound by fate and divided by purpose. Their battle shook the earth. Ares's blade clashed against Hercules' mighty club, sparks flying like stars torn from the sky. Each blow carried the force of gods, shattering stones and splitting trees. Ares fought with the ferocity of a tempest, every strike an explosion of divine rage. But Hercules countered with precision and restraint, his power tempered by wisdom. He did not fight to destroy his brother, but to stop him, to protect the world from endless war. As the fight raged on, Ares grew frustrated. For every strike he made, Hercules stood unbroken. For every taunt unspoken, Hercules' silence was his strength. Finally, with a roar that shook the heavens, Ares unleashed his divine energy, a surge of pure fury that scorched the land. The explosion sent Hercules to his knees, his club shattered, his body trembling from the impact. Ares believed victory was his, but from the dust and ruin, Hercules rose once more. Blood marked his brow, but his spirit was unyielding. He drew strength from the mortals he had saved, from the innocent lives he fought to protect. With one final burst of power, he struck the ground, sending a wave of force that disarmed Ares and broke the circle of divine fire surrounding them. The god of war stumbled, his arrogance shaken. He looked upon his brother, battered but unbroken, and saw something he could not comprehend: compassion even for him. Ares could destroy armies, summon storms, and turn nations against each other. Yet he could not conquer the heart of Hercules. It was in that moment, amidst the silence that followed their clash, that Ares realized why Zeus favored his mortal son. Hercules was not merely strong. He was good. Defeated but not destroyed, Ares vanished in a swirl of black flame, vowing to return. He would never abandon his quest to prove that war was the true nature of man. Yet, for now, peace returned to the land. The skies cleared, the earth cooled, and the villagers emerged from their hiding places, offering gratitude to the hero who had saved them once more. Hercules stood atop a hill, watching the horizon as the sun dipped below the mountains. Iolaus approached, weary but smiling, as they prepared to continue their journey. The land behind them was scarred, but life would grow again, as it always did after the storm. Hercules knew that the battle against Ares was not truly over. The god of war would return again and again, for as long as mankind existed. For where there were hearts that sought power, Ares would find a home. But Hercules also knew something Ares never could, that even in a world filled with conflict, hope could never be destroyed. The human spirit, though fragile, was also eternal. And as long as mortals believed in kindness, in courage, in love, no god of war could ever claim victory. And so the tale of Hercules and Ares became another chapter in the endless legend of the demigod hero. A tale whispered by travelers beside campfires, told by parents to their children. A reminder that true strength lies not in conquest, but in compassion.